With the introduction of The Force Awakens into the new Star Wars canon, I have a confession to make. And I really hate to say this because I know how it makes me sound. Like one of those people who says things just to have a contrary opinion so that I can make myself stand out. And, well, I own a Zune. I don't need contrary opinions in order to stand out. Having said that, Kylo Ren is now my favorite Star Wars villain, in both the former and the current Star Wars canon. This sort of breaks my heart to say. I mean, KOTOR 2 is my favorite Star Wars game of all time, due in no small part to its villains. Darth Traya in particular is so full of aged wisdom and conniving evil that it's hard not to love her, even as you hate her. And of course, there are more common figures of the dark side. Darth Vader is a walking masterclass of intimidation. I mean, look at him. He commands respect and fear simply by being in the same room as you. And if you fail to pay your tithe...
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
And Darth Vader has his share of complexity, if in nothing else than in the fact that he's redeemed in the end, and it shows that the simple narrative of black and white morality that the Star Wars saga kind of holds to very carefully has shades of gray in redemption, if nothing else. And of course, there are villains that make war feel more like a conflict of ideas and ideals rather than a simple good versus evil narrative. Grand Admiral Thrawn comes to mind in this one. In the words of Yahtzee Croshaw,
the whole Call of Duty title speaks to a sort of inherent righteousness of fighting for one's country, and that sentiment loses something when the enemy is a real-life foreign power, presumably motivated by the exact same Call of Duty as you, white boy.
And Thrawn always felt like a soldier, simply doing his duty, nothing more, not corrupted by the inherent evils of the dark side. And that brings me to Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, I've got to admit, had me feeling the same sense of intimidation that I had with Darth Vader when he first arrives on the scene. It's the aftermath of a slaughter of a battle, and Ren marches down from a shuttle in simple, tattered robes that look like those of a dark acolyte. His face is masked in a helmet, and his voice is modulated and fairly even. The first thing we see him do in combat is freeze a blaster bolt in mid-air. Now that is cool. That's not why I like him, though. The Star Wars canons are filled to the gills with intimidating villains. See Darth Nihilus, Darth Maul, all the Mandalorians, Grand Moff Tarkin, Emperor Palpatine. Kylo Ren being intimidating isn't adding anything particularly new to the canons, old or new. No, I like Kylo Ren's face. That sounds odd. Let me explain. When you see Kylo Ren with his mask on, or in battle, your mind can conjure up any idea of who is behind that mask. All you have are his actions to go off of, and it would be reasonable to assume by his actions that he's some evil thing. Something subhuman. And when he's speaking with Rey, and he's about to take off his mask, you can't help but wonder what you're going to see. Some grotesque monster? Some withered, ruined human? Some arrogant, conceited, self-important thing?
That happens when you're being hunted by a creature in a mask.
And he's none of these. He's just a dude. He can't even be bothered to have a scar on his face. I'll guarantee you, he's got some perfectly manicured nails under his gloves. And... is he wearing lipstick? Makeup notwithstanding, he looks just like any guy. Makeup withstanding, he looks like some women. He looks like someone you could run into on the street. He's no one special. He is, in essence, you. And me. That's why I love him. Not because I have some great love for myself, but because he represents the slow, creeping seduction that evil actually is. Darth Vader represented this to a degree, but the irrational degree of hatred that the prequels have received overshadows that point. And the stoic acting of Hayden Christensen makes him difficult to relate to. But this pretty boy? We all know somebody like him. Maybe not someone who quite talks like him, but we know someone with a temper. Someone who's full of themselves. We also know people who are insecure. People who have serious family issues. But so what? He's the son of Han Solo. He's a Skywalker on his mother's side. Redemption is in the familial line. I am almost certain he'll have some redemptive moment in his story, but that fact is significant. You see, we knew Darth Vader was evil because he did evil things. Before he suited up, he killed younglings. He nearly exterminated the Jedi Order. He was directly responsible for the death of his pregnant wife. In the original trilogy, he kills Obi-Wan and condones the destruction of an entire planet. These are evil things, but they don't hit you that hard. Partially, this is due to the fact that these events are mostly foregone conclusions. We knew Padme wasn't going to make it. Obi-Wan in the wizened mentor role of A New Hope had him marked for death. The death of the younglings hit me hard, but apparently I was the only one if my travels on the internet are any indicator. And we didn't know anything about Alderaan. The evil demonstrated there was entirely academic. The audience didn't really lose anything. The pain we feel is for the loss that Leia has. There's nothing really beyond that. And even Leia seemed to take it pretty well. Kylo Ren breaks this family tradition. He, spoilers, kills his father. He kills Han Solo. Han Solo! We've been with Han Solo since 1977. He's been a science fiction icon for nearly 40 years now. We've read of his exploits in books, seen him in all of the original trilogy. He's earned a place in our hearts. And Kylo Ren kills him. The first 3 or 4 times I saw the movie in theaters, I cried. And then I cried again that one time that I saw it after drinking a Long Island iced tea. This was so much more impactful because he killed someone we love. Again, though, so what? What does it matter if we hate Kylo Ren for a more personal reason? Well, the 2 points that I've made don't stand apart. They're intertwined. Kylo Ren represents our ability to fall to the dark side, and to do so in such a way that hurts people. People we love, people who care about us. It breaks a line through the center of the black and white morality narrative. Until Kylo Ren killed Han Solo, he kept his pretty boy face. But then, he has to fight our heroine, Rey, and in that battle, he earns himself a nasty scar across his face. The visual deformity has been a designating element for evil in Star Wars, and the proximity to Kylo Ren's patricide in his scar earning indicates that that was his turning moment. He may have had a struggle in his heart, to a fight to return to the light side of the Force. We see it explicitly stated when Kylo Ren is praying to Darth Vader.
Forgive me. I feel it again. The pull to the light.
And I believe that just before Kylo Ren kills Han Solo, he is genuinely struggling with that inner turmoil, represented in the contrasting colors across his face as he makes that fatal decision. You can see the same colors in Luke, when Darth Vader is trying to turn him to the dark side, and Luke is hiding under the throne in the second Death Star. And in the words of Kreia,
"It is such a quiet thing to fall, but far more terrible is to admit it."
this is Kylo Ren admitting and embracing his identity as an evil man, and just like him, we can all fall this far. It starts with just one decision, one compromise, which makes it easier to compromise again and again and again until you don't even recognize who you are anymore. Until you have become the monster behind the mask. But there's one more reason why Kylo Ren's actions make him my favorite villain. I guarantee you we will have to forgive him at some point, just like we did with Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. But with Kylo, it'll be different. Kylo Ren killed our friend. He committed a sin against the audience, not just the characters on the screen. His redemption will bear an emotional price to pay. But I think that's important. I've noticed a lot, particularly lately, as these tragedies that we are seeing across the world, both home and abroad, seem to be increasing in frequency, that people are drawing lines in the sand. They're demarcating their demographics, saying that we, the self, have been hurt by them, the other. And we are going to make sure that they, the other, pay before we, the self, can forgive them. And this self-other dichotomy doesn't build bridges. It burns them, sometimes possibly irreparably. And it's really easy to do that. That's human nature, to say that they hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them. This is their fault. They did something wrong. But lumping everybody who falls under a demographic under one other category is not helpful. It's not helpful to say that it's all of their fault. Everybody who falls under this possibly very, very broad umbrella is to blame for the actions of a few. It really just kind of ignores reality. But even that aside, it makes it impossible for us to forgive them. And that's what we should be doing. It's hard, but that's where all the great change comes from. I'll be talking about Undertale eventually, but one of the greatest things about Undertale is the way that it handled redemption and forgiveness and mercy. How you could go through the entire game while all these people are trying to hurt you and kill you and not kill a single one of them. It really is inspiring, and I think with games like Undertale, and with Kylo Ren having hurt the audience in this way, and us, I guarantee you, needing to forgive him at some point, we're reaching a handful of narratives that are going to be important for the way that we view the political and social mindset of the world right now. Because when we start forgiving the people who've wronged us, we're going to see healing. When we continue to draw lines in the sand, when we continue to say that these people need to do something in order for us to forgive them, that's just going to escalate conflict. It's just going to make things worse. So, what I'm saying is maybe we can all learn a lesson from my favorite Star Wars villain, Kylo Ren. Thank you for watching.